Welcome to ETK Suit series. We have with us Professor Prafulla Agnihotri, who is a founding director of IIM Trichy, and he comes with 25 years of experience and is a multitasker. He has been a great teacher, he has been a great researcher and a consultant. And recent avatar that he has taken, for some time now, is he has been co-authoring the world's best Bible in marketing, that is Principles of Marketing with Philip Kotler. And we are trying to capture with him two important subjects. One is, what is it like managing the new IIM and IIM Trichy in this case. And the second one is about how does the millennials react to the management philosophy, and therefore, is there any need for pedagogical innovation as far as this generation is concerned? Welcome to ETK Suit series, Professor.
Thank you, Dr. Shoghi.
And just to start this discussion, how is it like being the first and the founding director of a new IIM, and that is IIM Trichy?
It was fun.
Right.
Normally they say it was a roller coaster ride, but fortunately, with the grace of God, at IIM Trichy, it was never a downhill. We were only going up, up and up.
Right.
Okay. And therefore, it was really a fun to set up an institute. I realized what these entrepreneurs go through, first generation entrepreneurs go through. But of course, I was quite lucky because the major worry for these entrepreneurs is finance. How am I going to meet the needs of my working capital? How am I going to pay to my creditors? How am I going to pay to my employees? I didn't have that worry because MHRD had provided us with enough funds. But rest of the challenges were there.
Right.
Setting up an institute from scratch. I remember when I joined in February 2011, NIT Trichy had given me a small room, 10 by 10 room, with one table and one chair. I started with my laptop, my mobile phone, and today we have about 25 faculty members. Another two are likely to join. Appointment letters have been issued. We have about 220 students in the PGP, plus about 20 students in fellowship. We have a Chennai center. The first batch of Chennai center will be graduating this year. It's a 3 years evening executive program, okay, covering the same syllabus like PGP of IIM Trichy. We have also started one more program out there, and that is on PGP HRM, postgraduate program in HRM, which is in the first year. They will enter the second year now. And therefore, it was really fun.
So, in this, I think about maybe three and a half years' time, what is the biggest challenge for you? Of course, I think also the second thing that we'd like to catch up with you is that, like you're referring to entrepreneurs, any entrepreneur for that matter. I think apart from the finance being the challenge, other biggest challenge is how do you build a brand? But in the case of IIMs or in these kind of institutions, the brand is already given to you. So, what is the biggest thing that you had to do so that you build up? You add on to that kind of thing.
Well, you're right. A brand was given to us. IIM was there, and
Right.
there was a great legacy of that brand, IIM. But when we add the word Trichy to that, the sub brand had to be established.
Right.
And we were 11th in 13 sub brands of IIM. And naturally, I had to create that credibility, same credibility which my predecessors, older IIMs like IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, IIM Calcutta, IIM Lucknow, and so on, had created. And that was a big challenge.
And for creating this credibility, if I may ask you, what according to you, or anyway, maybe on a hindsight, you must have thought through that these are the 4 or 5 pillars that must be strengthened so that the entire edifice of IIM Trichy as a brand or sub-brand can be built for the generation to come. So, were there any the 4 or 5 pillars that you thought, maybe for example, like maybe faculty research kind of thing?
Sure. I really studied the older IIMs, especially Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow. as a student of management, we say case studies. I decided to study it as a case when I decided to join IIM Trichy.
Okay.
And I was trying to find out what made them what they are, the global or world-class institute all over the world. And few striking facts, as you rightly mentioned, came in front of me. Number one, the faculty. The quality of faculty member, the nature of faculty member sets IIMs apart from rest of the schools. The faculty members in IIMs are quite dedicated to their job. I remember my colleagues in Calcutta, when I was working in IIM Calcutta, would not do anything when they are teaching. They would divide their work between teaching and research and rest of the activities. Then even if someone comes with a very lucrative consulting assignment which would pay him something like 15-20 lakh rupees, it simply says, sorry, if you want me, I'll work only after my term is over. Right now I'm teaching. That's a dedication. That's a commitment to the profession. And they would do rigorous research. The benefits of that research would get culminated into classroom teaching. Naturally, it's the input decides the quality of the output.
Right.
And this input, when given to the best of the students in the country, would obviously make them a better product.
Right.
And therefore, I realized that if I do create IIM Trichy as one of the world-class institutes, or I would even stretch ahead the same legacy which my older predecessors have set in, I must ensure that I get nothing but the best faculty members.
Right.
And that's what we started.
So that is one. So were there any other?
Sure. First is world-class faculty. Those, and that's how if you see the 25 faculty members that we have,
Right.
you will see my faculty members even in the last 3 or 4 years. Many of them are just 3 years old in the institute. Have already published in Harvard Business School, HBR, Harvard Business Review. They have already published in Journal of International Business. They have published in Journal of Marketing. Recently, yes, I'm telling you, faculty of IIM Trichy. Recently, in January, we had this winter session of AMA, American Marketing Association. As you know, all terms in marketing are defined by AMA and their definitions are used all over the world.
Right.
And getting a paper shortlisted is supposed to be a great feeling for a faculty, great achievement. And I have one faculty member who has 3 papers co-authored by him, featuring in that one single winter session of AMA.
3 papers.
And when I was willing to send him over there, okay, he said, Prafulla, I would love to reserve this right for some other occasion which is coming. I said, is there something in pipeline? He smiled. That means something even better than AMA is coming. So, it's the quality of faculty member, the quality of research that they do. If you see all accreditation agencies all over the world, see the quality of faculty and the research output,
Right.
and where they are published. When we started, we decided to have this ABDC, okay, which is the American, Australian Business Schools Committee of Deans. They have given a universal norm for rating business journals on the basis of load factor. And these journals are decided on the basis A, B, C, D. Okay. We decided initially that we will concentrate only on A and B plus.
Right.
Today, we do not look at B plus. We say preferably A star, which are the best journals, like the journals which I mentioned, or at least A.
Get it.
Nothing less than that. We will not consider. You publish wherever you want. That's for your satisfaction. The institute will not give any recognition for that. And only A and A star are recognized today. And that's what my faculty members are happy with. It's up to you to raise the bar and make them perform to their fullest. And it becomes a challenge. When someone has published something, others also say, okay, it leads to a demonstration effect.
Right.
Hey, come on, I must also have it. And we publicly applaud that faculty member who has done that. I send the copies to the board, to my chairman, to the board. The board members, we have got fortunately good board members, they read that and they communicate with that faculty member. Okay. And that motivates him. I can't pay them more, but I can always use other qualitative motivational techniques to motivate them and to pep them up to do their best foot forward.
Right. So, how do you define the quality of faculty, Professor? One is that their pedigree that they are coming from, the institutions and all that. Other one is the quality of research that people have done and therefore it is published. But are there any other way that any other ways in which you actually assess the quality? Because I think quality is one of the most misused terms, correct me if I'm wrong, in business school context.
True.
So how do you define the quality of a case study, quality of a textbook, and also the quality of faculty? So now let's listen to the quality of faculty. So how do you define, because you have been a teacher yourself, you have been one of the best teachers, and now you have been an institution builder, especially in the case of IIM. So how do you, and you must have seen a lot of people, I mean, wanting to work with you.
Yeah.
So how do you look at, or how do you assess the quality of a faculty?
The first process is the receipt of resume of a faculty member. A committee of people go through that resume. We literally scan it. We literally go through each and every point, each and every factor that he has mentioned. If he has mentioned out some research papers and we would need to know more about it, on a number of occasions we have written to him asking him to send the research papers to us so that we can actually see the quality of research papers. Then where he has published. That's a biggest external gratification or manifestation of someone's approval, that when someone like A-star journal has accepted something for publication. And I'm sure you must be knowing, an A-star journal, sometimes it takes about 3 years. I remember once I had to redo my paper twice, because by the time I submitted the paper and when they came for acceptance, it was almost 2.5 years. So the paper came back with some suggestions, and they also said that kindly also redo your literature review, because now it's 2.5 years old. The literature is dated. And the best of the brains go through those papers. So that's externally validated. And then we call the faculty member. And I also always consider selection of faculty members is a director's main job. They become your most important assets.
But if you put the wrong people in the pipeline, then that system
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And therefore, I sit through all the research, all the presentation, all the interviews of the faculty members. We conduct a 3-tier process for that. As I said, first is the resume screening, and only those. We are just conducting an experiment. About 13:1 is a ratio that we see. Out of 13 resumes that we receive, one is shortlisted for further processing.
That's very good.
Yeah. And then that resume is studied by the team, the deans, the area, the entire area. So if suppose something has received for marketing, the entire marketing area will study that. And each one has liberty and freedom to discuss it. At any firm, the person is called for making presentation on any topic of his choice. This presentation is basically seen from the point of view of his communication skills. He has to ultimately hold a class. You may be a great researcher, but if you cannot disseminate that knowledge in the class, it's useless. They are all teachers first.
Absolutely.
So we see whether he can do that. That also sees our research orientation. That also sees how his fundas are clear. Okay, whether he can answer our questions, or he has done something from here there and presenting something. Okay. In this process, we also involve outsiders. We invite the best of the brains in that area from India as well as abroad, okay, to come and listen to him. We call them external experts.
While he's making presentation.
Yes. Apart from my own faculty members, there's someone from Ahmedabad who
So
come.
you objective assessment of that.
Yes.
Very good.
And so a professor in marketing area from Ahmedabad or Calcutta or Bangalore would come and listen to him. We also have an industry expert in that area. Maybe someone from HUL would come and listen to the presentation. Because we don't want theoretical pundits. We want a practical orientation to the students. Otherwise, what's the use of that research if it is of no use to anyone? I'm doing it for my satisfaction. Okay. So we invite them also. And then the candidates are shortlisted. Then they are interviewed. And at this stage, when it comes to interview, then I keep checking only his attitude.
So how do you do that in terms of attitude? What do you do?
You talk to him, there are certain clues that you give him and they check his feedback.
Okay.
And generally I have seen a presentable person, liking person, the whole panel. I remember in the very first instance, we were conducting an interview and there was a fresh fellow of IIM Bangalore. He had come from Allahabad. He hailed from Allahabad. And the whole panel had fallen in love with that fellow. He was so sweet, so simple, so down to earth. No facade. He was not putting up any mask.
Right.
And we all said we need to have it.
Right.
And even today the same thing continues.
Very good.
And that's the most important thing. One black sheep is sufficient to spoil the whole environment. And especially when you are trying to build something which is academically rigorous, where standards of academic are very high, you have to ensure that everyone who comes in manages at least that level, if not more. If he is something of lesser capability, and he cannot compete with others,
Right.
there is problem. Then he may start with some manipulation, politics, or whatever,
Right.
or he'll feel frustrated.
Absolutely.
And so one has to maintain that.
So one is that, so rightly you said it's all about the faculty or the team as you speak. That's the key factor for building an institution, especially for a new institution like IIM. Now, coming back to the second thing, and that is about, I think in the last 25 years of your teaching career, you must have taught varieties of people, right, from Gen X, maybe some of them baby boomers because you've taught a lot of executive programs and all that. But this generation happens to be what is called as the millennials. So, do you think some of the pedagogy that happens in business schools has to be modified or changed so that the classrooms can be better connected with the millennials? And before that, and I think one of the initiatives that you have taken, which I think I have read quite a lot of times, is inquiry method of teaching. So, what is it all about?
Before I come to inquiry, let me tell you one more thing from where it originates.
Right.
One more philosophy that I firmly believe in is experimental method of learning.
Okay.
You make the experiential, not experiential. You make the person experiences. I remember when I was teaching here in Mumbai, and it's something on say channels of distribution.
Right.
I would take the batch to Loharchal, where the number of wholesalers are there, and one full day we would spend over there. And I used to make them see these wholesalers. I used to make them interact with wholesalers.
And let them see through the entire value chain.
Yes. And then maybe we would call someone from a leading company, maybe Cadbury's or HUL or Procter & Gamble.
Who will the science of it.
Yeah. And then the students can connect to what they are saying with what they had seen, and they can question better.
Right.
Okay. This is not possible just by giving a case study or by giving a lecture in the class.
Right.
I'm an ardent fan of case studies. Case studies are highly essential. But let's understand, Harvard developed those case studies, invented that case study methodology about 100 years ago because they felt that the managers need to know how to make decision making. So case studies hone your decision making skills. And no doubt about it, it's really good. So I do use case studies. But at the same time, we must understand one major difference in India, and that sets us apart, which is in Harvard, typically if you see a person who goes for MBA, he's in the middle of his career. Right. Average age maybe about 33 to 35. True. And they all have about 10 to 15 years work experience. So they have worked and then they have gone. So cases make better sense to them. Right. Here in my class, I have a person with 5 years experience and I have a fresher. Someone who has just come out of NIT or IIT and he has joined us. He doesn't even know the basics of it. He doesn't know what is meant by pro forma invoice and what is the difference from pro forma and normal invoice. He doesn't know what is lorry receipt or gate pass. That basic things he doesn't know. And how can how can I make him start with cases directly? And that is where experiential learning comes into picture. They actually see things. I keep telling companies, you are launching a brand, come and talk to us. We don't want any money. My students will assist your managers in doing the initial, everything that you need to do. That will tell them how a brand is launched, which they can see, they can read in the textbook, can study in the case, make a decision, but there actually they can see what are the practical difficulties that are involved in launching a brand. Right. Make us do the financial analysis for your clients. They will work under the supervision of a faculty member from us, from the concerned area, as well as under the guidance and close coordination with a senior manager of yours.
So, Professor, sorry to interrupt you. So, therefore, I think what I get sense from your perspective is that I'm trying to topsy-turvy the earlier model. Earlier model was knowing, and again borrowing from Rakesh Khurana's rethinking MBA philosophy, knowing, doing, and being kind of thing. Now we are looking at knowing and doing part of it. I think what you're saying is reverse that one. First let them do it, and then automatically knowing will come. In other words, this is the science and this is the art part of it. Is it right to think
yes.
that?
And there's also skill part of it, which comes over a period of time. Right. So science is taken care of by textbooks, by to a great extent cases and interaction with the faculty member. Then comes the art, which you have to see, you have to appreciate. I can't teach you how to draw just by giving you theory classes.
Absolutely.
You have to take the board, you have to take the pen, you have to take the sketch pen and start sketching. And that's how you learn. Right. And that's how your hand will develop that habit of drawing it perfectly.
True.
And that is possible only by experimentation.
So how do you fit this inquiry method of teaching into this one?
You have to encourage students to ask questions.
which is going back to our own Socrates method of teaching.
I used to jokingly always say in my class, whenever the students used to ask me questions, I have to answer their questions by questions. I want them to develop that insight, which is not possible if I answer their question directly. It's like giving an IV, intravenous fluid, without making them attempt to even gulp it. So you have to make them chew it.
Right.
Then only digestion will be faster.
Right.
So and I used to jokingly tell them that, sorry, my institute doesn't pay me enough to answer your questions. My salary is just enough to raise questions to you.
Right.
Seek your own answers. And students used to come to me and say, hey, it was a great insight. I never thought in that way. So that's what the job of a teacher is at this level.
You instigate their thinking.
Exactly. Make them think and channelize their thinking in the right way.
Right. Right. So therefore, coming back to again idea of the need for any pedagogical innovation in this generation, especially this millennials, you find one or two areas where the business schools, I mean, I'm sure some of it must be happening at IIMs, but as a whole, the business school as a whole, we think there must be some real paradigm shift in terms of the way this generation students are being taught.
Sure. That's what I would say. Look, this generation is in a hurry.
Yeah. This is netizens there all.
Absolutely. They wanted everything yesterday.
Right.
And they don't have enough time to spend on that.
Right.
Okay. I on one point I love them also. They are quite open.
They're very focused.
They are very focused. And they don't have any inhibitions.
Right.
Okay. They are ready to accept things as they come. So we have to put all these things in perspective. We ultimately exist for them. It's unfair to expect them to mold into our requirements.
That's well said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would always say that it should be a mutual connect. I must say as a teacher, what are the requirements of my course? What are the main objectives of my course? What are the deliverables expected from me? Okay. And at the same time, I should also see the values and parameters of the target audience.
Right.
And then feed into that. If you see, even the advertisements that you see on TV or in magazines have undergone a sea change these days.
Right.
They are quite different than what you used to see in 80s and 90s. Why? Because the audience has changed.
So I have having a disconnect, Professor. I think correct me if I'm wrong, is that we have subjects like consumer behavior, organization behavior, etc. This kind of stuff, which is basically under social science kind of thing. How do you sensitize these children so that they can really fall in love with the subject, and then they can take the purport of those subjects into their own daily life as and when they start working? For example, let's say we have, since you refer to something like advertisement, consumer behavior teaches something like verbalizers and visualizers, because some of us would like to have a lot of text, and some people, you just want to see a photograph and then you fall in love with it and then you make a decision there. But then in a classroom kind of context, how do you sensitize these children to see, to look inwards, and so that they become good in making decisions?
Yeah, so that's what I always say. Teaching is long gone. Okay? It is a redundant word today.
Right.
It's a facilitation that one has to do. A teacher must get converted, even at the school level, into a facilitator. And the facilitator, while you are facilitating, you yourself also get facilitated. And at the end of the class, if you have not learned something new, perhaps introspect and see whether you have given anything new to the class. You have to make them think. You have to make them, you use the right word, introspect. Okay, they must question themselves. Long back, one of my old teachers, I had asked him when I started teaching, what is a great class? And he says, great class is one where you can change at least one paradigm in the student's mind. When the wisdom dawned on me, I understood the seriousness and depth of what he was saying. Changing a paradigm in a class of say 1 hour 25 minutes.
Not a joke.
Okay. I say, that is what is a good class and what is a great class. He said, well, when you can change more than one paradigm. And that made me think, how can I change these paradigms in the student's mind? How can I make them think in a particular way?
Right.
Okay. How can I make them introspect?
Right.
How can I make them relate to whatever that has happened? And reflect. I may not use the word react, but reflect on that. There may be different ways in which a person would reflect. But then, how can I do that?
And you facilitate that.
Yeah, you facilitate that.
And one more, I think, maybe a drop, I won't say drawback, but I think the phenomenon of the generation has been, like most of the people, I won't again say complain, but then they've been noticing is that the generation drastically lack the the willingness to read. They don't want to read too many things. Might read few lines and make a judgment quite fast. So therefore, is there any way that business schools, including IIM Trichy, can play a role in instilling in them the sense of reading? Because I think it's all about more you read. So like you rightly said, so there is a difference between knowledge, information, knowledge, and wisdom. And wisdom are quite rare. Information, yes, you have knowledge, okay, kind of thing, but then wisdom is very rare. So, is there any way that people can be sensitized, these millennials can be sensitized to the importance of the reading?
Certainly. The reading is important. In fact, we also make them read a lot. We also give them a lot of pre-course reading,
Okay.
pre-class reading.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I remember some of my colleagues who simply asked them, how many of you have not read these articles?
Mm-hmm.
Please stand up. Otherwise, I'll find out in the next 5 minutes. And the other day, one of them had abandoned the whole class because a few of them had not read it. They said, I don't mind, I don't want to waste my time on teaching or taking this class because you have not read it. I told you next time when the students come prepared, they come, they read and then they come. You have to make them read.
Right.
So sometimes make it interesting. Sometimes we're taking a whip in your hand. Okay.
Right.
Sometimes using innovative techniques.
Right.
Maybe like using multimedia cases.
Exactly.
You have to make learning fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally believe that yes, if it is not fun, if you are not enjoying it, it's not worth doing it.
Entertainment, basically. Absolutely. So, I think so. But apart from all this, I think whatever you're doing, experiential learning or environmental teaching or engaging with better reading and all that, is there any one thing that maybe IIM Trichy has taken initiative in trying to see that this generation or the millennials are better connected so that they become good decision makers or they become good business managers in the years to come? Is there any one initiative that IIM Trichy has taken? Maybe few. Maybe.
The first thing that comes to my mind, we are not looking at only creating them just as a good business manager.
Right.
We want to create them good human beings.
The first.
A human being who is sensitive to the needs of the society, who knows that he or she is part of larger society and he or she owes something to the society. One initiative I'll tell you, and if you see our values that we cherish, we have clearly mentioned that we are a socially sensitive institution, socially responsive institution. We owe it back to the society.
Okay. And you instill the same values in the children also, the students.
Yes. And I'm glad to say that we have started, my colleagues, I think you met Professor Suresh Paul Anthony and others have started a new initiative called MAD, Make a Difference.
ISA.
Okay. It will be done in 4 phases. The first phase is making them, sensitizing them to this.
Right.
Okay. And then we have invited people who have worked in these domains. Someone who is working in rural India, NGOs and so on, bureaucrats, okay, to come and tell them the difficulties that they are facing, the problems that are faced by the society, and what difficulties they are facing. And the students question them, left, right, and center. I remember the ex-municipal commissioner of Chennai had come, and the students grilled him.
Right.
And then he comes to me and says, my goodness, now I understood what is the IIM class. Okay. I had never faced so many questions even in the worst press conference that I gave. Okay. And I said, that's what I want you to do. That's what we always believe in, that I want you to develop your own original thinking.
Right.
Okay. And the second phase would be, subsequent phases would be, we would take them actually to a rural place.
And immersion workshop.
Where they can actually go and work.
Right.
See the problems, see the difficulties, and come back and report to us. And again, in that report, we will not see what they have done, what they have imbibed. The emphasis will be on that.
Right.
And we would like to see them a different person.
Very good.
Which is not possible just by reading a book or a case study.
Very true.
Where you have to go, and sometimes you should touch it. I remember as a small child, I was traveling somewhere, and I saw a child. So I was in 4th or 5th standard. So out of just inertia, I gave the banana that I had to that small child who was begging on the road. And I was shocked by what I saw. It has made a lasting impression on me. That girl not only ate banana, but she also ate the peel of it. That hungry she was. And I realized that was my first instance of experiential learning. It opened my eyes. There was not much difference in our age. But I realized what is the state in which some of my countrymen live in. And ever since then, whenever I pray to God, I always pray that I am grateful to you. That I got so many things. I have never asked for anything, but I always say, I am grateful to you. I started looking at the things that I have, my assets, instead of what I don't have. Because I had so many things which many of my countrymen don't have.
Absolutely.
And we want to sensitize them to that. They got the best of the education. They could come and study in one of the best institutions in the country. Okay? How am I going to give it back to the society?
Right.
In the process, we also want them to be ethical. Generally, ethics and ethical values are eroding in India. After some time, perhaps we may have to ask the meaning of the word ethics. Because everyone feels that ethical, the person next door should be ethical, not me.
It's
And
better
we have to
for
make
someone
it
else.
realize,
Right.
So the basic human value. If you cannot be honest, and we say always say, start with yourself. If you are not honest to yourself, you cannot be honest to the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
Be honest. Stand up to say I don't agree. Let's make a beginning with that. And then be honest to whatever your values are, principles are, come what may. It should be an uncompromisable value.
Right.
I'm ready to face the music if someone doesn't agree with it. I'm not here for that.
Right.
So these are some of the techniques that we want to follow,
Right.
and we want to create difference.
Right.
Because we want to make a difference in the society in a larger way, in the longer
Yes.
period when we
Right.
go.
So I think, Professor, I think one last question for you would be, what is your dream for IIM Trichy? Because the IIM, like we said, Trichy is a sub-brand. In the generation to come, where do you want to see? Maybe let's say 30 years down the line, 40 years down the line, you have you must be nurturing a dream. IIM Trichy should be known for this one. Is maybe for research, maybe for publication. Is it for teaching? Is it for consulting, or is it for immersion, or maybe experiential learning? Whatever. So, what is your idea? Is there any one thing that you have?
Difficult. That's the most difficult question.
Right.
I would say all. A summation of all the values that you mentioned.
Right.
But if you see, basically, the world is changing. And with my limited knowledge, that if I can see something, I can see the country, India, emerging as a global leader. It's a matter of another 10 years at the most. We will have supremacy in the world in different ways. Okay. The Prime Minister has rightly started with Make in India. Once, if that takes off successfully, today's Times of India, I read, by 2017 we shall overtake China's GDP. Okay. So things are going to be driven by India, and we should be ready to take that leadership role in the global market.
And institutions will play a big role.
Yes.
And
So
especially
we should be able to supply them the global managers,
Right.
but global managers with some values, with a vision. It's not just a capitalist vision of making money, come what may, anyhow, somehow. Okay, with some values. And that's how we should drive the ancient Indian values along with the Western corporate mantras, okay, to create a leadership role for the Indian corporates in the rest of the world.
So it's something like, if I can use the word, egalitarian capitalism.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing. So
Absolutely.
So I think on that positive note, thank you so much, and we look forward to wonderful innings at IIM Trichy, as well as for all the institutions that you're going to be heading, Professor. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks.